Hello and welcome to Let's Waffle. Back for another big week of waffle action. John Townsend and myself, Ross Lewis here. We're up to round 8, John. Now, we had a few technical problems last week. We couldn't get on air. Should we let a little secret out about one of the reasons why we weren't able to be around?
We're here for the truth and nothing else, Ross. You know that.
Well, there might have been a little bit of a health scare goes through the camp. How would we describe it for an AFL club? Would we say like
general
horror crash,
or knee virus? Knee virus, I think.
Was it a tragic road accident? Or?
I don't think it was tragic. No fatalities at this stage. No, one of us was out of action briefly after a high-speed tumble.
That's it. I like that. That'll be better.
But we fought on regardless. Sheer strength of courage and character, and a couple of charades got us over the line, and we're back on track.
Well, it's good to see you back, John. We're in the Roger Steiner Price booth today. We've been
Roger
around.
Steiner Price, yeah.
So that's going back to the late 70s.
No, 80s. He's
80s,
a very good player at Subi and Uni Footy Club too. And Darren Waits, the former Warrior, works at Roger Steiner Prize now. Good luck to them all.
Well, a big week of football, both past and present. West Perth, John. They are the real deal. Some didn't give them much hope at the start of the season, but one good thing about West Perth is the players they have are their own players, and they'll have them for most of the year. They're not relying on any influx of AFL talent, and they gave it a little bit to Claremont in a pretty exciting game.
Yeah, they're a very hardened side. I mean, we did a yarn a couple of weeks ago about their Dan Hunt reaching his 100 games, and they have 4 of their back 6 that played 100. So it's the most experienced and cohesive backline in the competition. They strangled Claremont on Saturday. They played outstandingly well, and if Claremont only lost by 3 points, if they'd pinched the game, it would have been really just quite unfair for West Perth, I think, because they dominated the game and just showed that when you play that lockdown sort of footy, though, a side that runs the ball hard and kicks long can expose it, and Claremont took far too long to do that. They missed Dan Hunt as well, but Chad, and there was thinking that Chad Jones coming back, very dangerous player. Well, he clearly looked rusty. I mean, he's been out of footy since last August, so Hunt's absence didn't really hurt them. Chad Jones better for the run, and I'm sure that Claremont will get better as he gets into the game. But no doubt West Perth are the real deal, and as they've done throughout their history, they pop up. They don't go for too long without being around the mark as far as finals and premierships go, and they've got great resilience, the old Cardies, haven't they? That they went out to Joondalup, that caused massive ructions within their support base, and they've won a couple of flags since then, and they've been very competitive. And under Bill Monaghan in the last couple of years, they've been around the edge of the 4, but they look as though they're going to go a fair bit deeper this season. Yeah,
they got very close to the Royals, just to rile the Falcon supporters that detest East Perth. It was good to see that Prince William wore a West Perth Guernsey to the wedding the other day when he got married. It resembled with the blue sash. Looked like he was playing for the Falcons.
I'm glad that you watched the wedding. I missed it. Dexter was on, actually. I watched 4 episodes of a mad serial killer rather than the royal family in action, but still, I probably got the better of the deal.
Well, someone said that all East Perth supporters should watch the wedding because it'll be the only success the Royals have all year.
Yes.
Now, I thought that was a little bit unkind, but yes, might be closer to the truth. John, just keeping on with the Falcons, they resemble to me, and bringing in the East Perth line again, they remind me a fair bit of the Royals' early part of this century, where we have Lacroix, Burns, Flay, Pearce, Bartholomew, Salisic, all players, as you mentioned, about the defence having played so many games, but playing together. I thought the East Perth side of 2000 and 2002 had that advantage with players like Wheatley, Barnard, Waller, etc. Not the host club arrangement.
I thought that was David Antonowitz and
Andrew
David Haynes. Weren't they the difference?
Yes.
Perhaps not. Maybe the hat trick was achieved for different reasons.
Dean Cox and Ryan Turnbull.
Where'd they come from?
Well,
Ryan Turnbull anyway.
Wow.
I think you're right. I mean,
but there are parallels to the East Perth side that won the 3 flags. I think just in that core group with a little bit of topping.
They've got a very good backline. Their midfield is very solid. They've added Hutchings this year and Tregear, who probably not as prominent as Hutchings, and Bartholomew's really matured as an elite waffle midfielder. Salisic is a great player. Andrew Strike's been very good. There's not much more he can do to get into the Eagles side, I think. And one advantage, I reckon, for the Eagles, and this again goes back to the value of the WAFL versus the reserves team for us, when he does go up to the Eagles, as will happen this week or next week or in a month's time, he's absolutely cherry ripe, because he's playing in a strong side, playing good football, and he's part of the reason for that. But he's playing in a strong group, and so of course he's in good nick. And when he goes up, I'm sure that we'll see the benefit. The Eagles will see the benefit from that.
Now, moving on, we did mention that West Perth are playing South Fremantle this week.
That's why I've got the red on, Ross, just to celebrate the red versus the red.
It's good to see you turned. Jamie Graham's injury, one of the worst I've seen in the WAFL for a long time. There's obviously suggestions that he probably won't play again. I suppose for Jamie at this stage it's just getting his leg right so he can get normal movement back into the joint.
Well, the line that I've heard that he said to someone at the club, I think, was that he just wants to be able to kick the footy with his son sometime in the future. So the prospects of him playing senior football again are very remote. Apparently he's torn every ligament in that knee. Horrific dislocation of the knee as well. I mean, basically a displacing of the lower part of the limb. And again, we've seen a player come in low with a stationary player standing up, hit by a player coming in low, sliding on the ground, taking his legs out from under him. And it's becoming one of the biggest injury issues in the game, I think, at AFL and WAFL level. This attack on the player who is completely vulnerable when they're standing up.
Did the WAFL match review panel do the right thing on that incident?
Well, look, I don't think there was anything in it that was illegal under the current rules, but clearly it's an issue that's arising in the game, that players diving in for the ball are doing something that is legal but dangerous, and that's, I guess, something for the game's governors to look at. No doubt it will happen first in the AFL before it happens in the WAFL, and one WAFL player being injured won't cause the AFL to do it, but I suspect that it'll be examined more closely than it has been in the past.
Now, before we wrap up part one of this week's WAFL, Peel.
Going well.
Swan District's a little bit of a fright. Again, they do seem to take the 2 steps forward. Whether they take the 3 back in the second half of the season is the big question. But how do we read that game, John? Peel almost getting on top of Swans narrowly getting up for their second win of the year. Do we look at the Swans were a little bit disappointing, or that Peel are improving?
Look, Swans have been down obviously, and they haven't played great footy this year. They lost their first 4, and so they weren't playing great. And then the previous week, Peel got belted, but they were competitive with West Perth. There was only a few points in it at half time, and then they only kicked 2 in the second half, so they really dropped their bundle in a bad way. But they were competitive. The first game at the new Bendigo Bank Stadium, or the revamped Bendigo Bank Stadium. Look, Peel are competitive. They've picked up some good AFL players, and Viv Mitchie, who's a young player on the Freo list, he certainly looks a lively type. When Batty's up and about, and the 3 Thorntons, so Ash has done he's done a leg as well, so he'll be out for a while, or ankle, I think. So they've picked up some good players along the way. Look, Peel might not win a game this year, but I'm sure that they'll be more competitive than they were last year. But what's the point of being competitive if you don't actually have an impact? And Peel's future is, not so much their future, will continue to exist in some form because of that massive district that they are at the head of. But their arrangements, their relationship with an AFL club, probably Freo, what they do in the years to come is one of the big questions in the WAFL at the moment. 2,200
or just over 2,000 was the crowd, we're told, down at Bendigo Bank Stadium. Not a bad crowd by Peel standards. They do tell me there's still a little bit to go with the redevelopment down there. It's not quite ticked off, and they're working hard to get it done for the state game in 3 weeks' time.
Well, I think that isn't the plan that they're going to have the official opening for that state game against Queensland in June, and that there will be some of the final works finished by that time. I reckon the ground itself is in fantastic nick, so that's one good thing. But keeping good players down there, or attracting good players down there, is the real key for Peel.
Okay, well, that's the end of part 1 of Let's WAFL for this week. We'll be back shortly with part 2.